Halo Moduers, kembali lagi bersama saya Gaby Suhartanto, investment connoisseur dari Moduit. Dan hari ini saya di-join oleh Bapak Naresh dari Principal Asset Management. Hi Mr. Naresh.
Hello Gaby.
Thank you for being here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Yes, of course. So hari ini kita mau berdiskusi sedikit tentang yang namanya reksadana pasar uang. Apa itu dan juga apa sih keunggulannya? Nah, Pak Naresh, I'm gonna ask you maybe the first question is going to be about what's the outlook for the bond market in Indonesia in the short term, maybe 1 year from now, and also maybe especially towards government bonds like FR bonds.
Yeah.
What's the outlook from Principal?
Yeah. So we are going through very challenging period for the world as we speak, right? Especially what the development that is taking place in the Middle East is something that is not everyone was expecting.
Right.
It came out of a sudden, and that is changing a lot of thought process across the world, and all this has a lot of implication to risky assets, So under the overall outlook, so if you look at from an Indonesia perspective, the bond market is already at a very attractive level, So even when the 10-year yield was at 6.4%, it was already attractive because our inflation rate was only around 4%. So we were already getting around 2.4% real interest, okay? Today, the 10-year yield has already come to almost 6.97% level. So literally, we are getting 3% real interest rate. So that means it is very attractive. Okay, that is from a 10-year perspective. Even on a 1-year perspective, the last week is surprising 25 basis points rate hike. It is also more from a forward thinking because next month you are having a Fed meeting. So everybody expect that there could be more tightening. And plus with rupiah getting a little bit weaker because of the geopolitics and Middle East situation, I think our central bank has gone a little bit more aggressive to ensure that we are maintaining stability for the currency. So from that perspective, we are at a, in our opinion, we are at a very comfortable level. But I think we need to be a little bit more cautious. That would be our approach. In terms of where the yields are based on inflation, based on real interest rate, compared to bank deposit, what the yield that we are getting, the upside that we are getting, it's already looking very attractive.
Okay, so actually follow up on that. I know a lot of people were surprised last week. Definitely, I was a bit surprised. Oh, they increased the interest rate because a lot of the probably outlook was or prediction was that the Indonesian government was probably not going to increase rates again because the US probably. Well, that before, right, that was the outlook that they were not going to increase rates. So why do you think that they suddenly did that? So, or do you think that the market was surprised by that in Indonesia, or do you think that people kind of already priced that in as well, even though it's a bit surprising?
So fundamentally, there is no need for us to raise that particular interest rate, right? From an Indonesian domestic perspective. But there are so many things that is going on outside of Indonesia that has implication to us, correct? So clearly dollar is becoming stronger, and of course the inflation continues to be challenging to control in developed markets, in particular in US. So that means we are looking at the higher interest rates for a longer period in US and other developed economies. And with the Middle East getting into a more of a hot spot, there is a natural tendency to de-risk. People try to reduce the risk, you understand now. Unfortunately, Indonesia is part of the emerging market story, correct? And so you are seeing across the board, all emerging markets, all the currencies are weakening. Even developed countries, we are seeing currencies much more weaker. So yen is at all-time low, and so even if you look at the ASEAN peer, actually Indonesian rupiah is doing much more better than the neighboring countries. But having said that, I think this interest hike is basically to more of a defensive play to support the currency as well as maintain the stability of the market. But once again, it will be very temporary way I would say. I think from a US market perspective, we feel that the market has already peaked in terms of interest rates.
Okay.
So we just need to see how it is stabilizing and how it can go down. If that happens, automatically the risk appetite will return. But with the development in Middle East, we need to keep our eyes open and see how we need to monitor it, and how do we manage our investment thesis is something we need to keep eyes on.
Okay, I see.